objects in the sky. We don't know exactly what they are.
Of landing a man on the moon, and
Have anyone been murdered?
I have to be careful asking that question.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Your eyes is useless when your mind is blind. All right, truth seekers. As you know, we have I can't say a guest. I mean, this is just the man. This is his place and everything else. But we're going to be talking about the gods, and are they here? Are they returning? And we're going to stretch your imagination tonight so you can think about what we're really going to be discussing tonight. And then I want you to make sure you stick around. We have a huge announcement. Now, this announcement is going to be for those of you who are what I call early adapters, who've already saw the vision. You're going to love it. And for those of you who have not saw the vision, you're going to get on the vision plan. Okay. But either way, we got a huge announcement we're going to make with forbidden knowledge here that I think everyone should know, and make sure you stick around. We're going to talk about that later on in the show. Okay, so it's very important. But in the meantime, as you know, I got Billy Carson here with me. And for those of you who always say, is this Billy? Now y'all can see there's two different people here. Okay, so and we can do that. So, man, first of all, we're going to talk about those gods, and first, my pleasure of you being here tonight, and also, y'all, this is a two-parter. We're going to do two parts tonight. When we in here, we're going to go over to my personal channel and wrap up some more of this other gods here, or maybe they not, or they already returned or here. And I appreciate you, spending the time with us tonight as well.
Hey, thank you.
But I'm going to get right into it so that people who's hopping in now just know that we're serious about what we're talking about here. And you know that a lot of people say the gods left a long time ago, but if that's true, why do we have these symbols that run our course, our currencies, our churches? And my question, and as the title would say, and we'll start out, did the gods really leave, or they just changed their clothes?
Right. Yeah. Listen, man, it's a deep question, because if you analyze a lot of the ancient texts, you discover, first of all, that indigenous peoples all over the world have very similar stories about being engaged by these beings, these advanced beings. Then in a lot of ways, we look like them. And these beings brought things like agriculture, monetary systems, construction and building techniques, city planning, bicameral Congress. All this was done thousands and thousands of years ago. They even brought in fiat currency and inflation into the system. So that was 6,000 years ago. We have those tablets in the British Museum. And so you have to ask yourself, now all these cultures talk about the fact that these beings were here. They interacted and engaged them in some way, shape, or form. And then they were there for thousands of years, thousands, eons. And then all of a sudden, little by little, they just began disappearing. In some of the texts, you see that there were these wars, these huge wars that happened. And there's evidence of these wars that are talked about in not only ancient texts, even more recent texts like the biblical text. It talks about these wars of the gods. And the evidence could be found in like Pakistan at Mohenjo-daro in the Indus Valley, where the buildings there were turned into glass. They were vitrified, and the people died where they stood or where they were walking. Their bodies and skeletons are still laying in the street today, even some of them still holding hands, just showing you the testament that they were killed so instantly. No evidence of scavenging on their bones at all, okay? No scavenging on the bones. And a Geiger counter reveals higher than background radiation still today. So we're talking about something nuclear that happened that's just one of dozens of areas around the planet where you can find these evidences of these incredible wars that had 3,000 plus degree temperatures, because that's the only way you can vitrify sand. And you look into the Sahara Desert. There are places where you can put your hands deep in the sand, you'll bring up glass balls. How do you turn sand into glass? Again, weapons fire. And no matter where you go, we discover that there were talks of these wars. In the Rig Veda, there was this big war, the Indian text. It was a battle of the 10 kings. And this war actually took place in space, according to the text. So the wars were here. These beings fought. In some of the texts in the Vedas, they talk about flying cities battling in the sky. But then all of a sudden, as in any war, it dissipates and a lot of the people leave. Now, the question is that you said, are some of them still here? Did the victors stake a claim on this planet and have offspring and are potentially running behind the scenes? And I think it's quite possible that the offspring of some of these people could still be here, the so-called quote unquote elite oligarchs that are running the world from behind the veil, controlling everything we hear, see, taste, touch, smell, feel, where we can go, where we can't go, and everything else. I really do believe that they're behind the scenes, controlling and dominating and pulling the strings like master puppeteers.
Wow. And that lead me actually to my other statement of thought, when it comes down to it, because when you think about ancient cultures, they all speak about what came down from the sky. You were just talking about the wars and stuff up there, but they were saying teaching us, ruling us, punishing us, of course. Now we have modern scholars today, Billy, be talking about, oh, they're just a mythology, some of the scholars. But what if that's a real cover-up? And who's decided that we should call them this God's fiction anyway? And what are they protecting, when it comes down to this? So what are your thoughts on that? Because there's just two sides of this. Either they're protecting something and people are trying to say it's fiction. But of course, we know people like yourself, heavy researchers and known, for ancient civilization knowledge, says otherwise. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that they're definitely trying to cover up the fact that these beings existed, number one. Number two, that they have some type of dominating control over this planet, or had a dominating control over this planet, and might still be in some type of a dominating control behind the scenes still to this very day, because they don't want to give themselves up, right? I believe that behind the scenes, we could be looking at control factors that are coming from the ancient past, or at least people that believe they're the direct descendants of these beings and have the right to continue on that same path of rulership, kingship, and domination over mankind. There have been quotes from some of the royalty of England and some of the, and even one of the Rothschilds making a statement as to, we feel as if we deserve to rule over the people. They honestly believe it's their birthright to rule and dominate over us. And that all stems from, going back in time to the ancient past, where they personally believe that they are direct descendants of these Anunnaki, of these Elohim, which means plural and gods, plural, of these people. And I think that for them, it's like, cover this up, keep it secret, because if this information ever gets out, that this is what's really going on, that this is truly who's running the planet, then 8 billion people will have an uprising, and it'll be the end for them. They're best behind the scenes. You'll never see them on Forbes cover. You'll never see them on the cover of Time magazine. You'll never know who these multi-trillionaires are that control and dominate the globe, but they will control and dominate from behind the scenes when hiding out where you don't know who they are. You can walk past them on the street, you wouldn't even know. So the governments of the world, I believe that they're in collaboration to cover it up, to cover up the identity of these people, because they're commanded to, and they better listen. Otherwise, you know what happened to JFK. So
hey, you better know. I'm right here in Dallas, so I know. But you kind of spoke exactly where my thoughts was, because when we trace back these bloodlines to the royal families and the elites, they always have the same theme. It's a divine right. You know what I'm saying? Like, but when I started looking into it, and we're not going to go to the reptilian stuff, because that's just my favorite stuff. Yeah. But when we start talking about these bloodlines and these elites, is it really genetics involved though? Because if we can think they're still here, then it has to be a traceable bloodline, right?
Oh yeah, there definitely is a traceable bloodline. The bloodline is real; it does exist. However, every single human being has some of the DNA of these people in us, because we all have been genetically modified from the ancient past. Moving forward in time, we all have genes that are directly connected to these beings, because as in the Epic of Atrahasis, which is a Sumerian tablet that is located in the British Museum, you can go visit it like I did. In that Epic of Atrahasis, they talk about slaying one of the gods' blood and mixing it with the human to create this version of Homo sapiens sapien. What they're talking about is genetic modification through gene therapies and DNA, whatever the modification, to create this version that we are now, Homo sapiens sapien. It seems as if we were already here on Earth, because there was going to be a big war. A war between these beings, not between us and them. They were going to fight each other because one group called the EGG felt like they were becoming enslaved. This is what they felt like. They were doing a lot of labor, a lot of work themselves for thousands of years, and they claimed that they weren't getting a break. They felt like they were being enslaved, and they also were complaining about not having women. Okay, this is in the text. And so they decided to go to South Africa to a place called Adam's Calendar and surround the camp of Enki and Lil and Anu. And I've read these texts on video before. They're talking about, having a coup. Enki makes a decision, and he comes up with an idea and says, look, there's an existing being. So I'm just now, kind of giving you a summary. There's an existing being on this planet. We can add our essence to it and get it to bear the load of the gods. In other words, we can genetically modify the people that are here. Those would have been our cousins. We can genetically modify them, get them to do the work. Let them go out here and do the labor. We'll get them to, deify us, worship us, and everything else. They won't even know they're slaves because they'll think that we're gods. And the agreement was made, and that's what they set out to do. So now, if you look at today's current society, we're still underneath that same boot till this very day. Grind, work, make somebody else rich at a higher level, and then die and start all over again. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah, and it really is. And it really takes me into this other thought, because I noticed, Billy, when a lot of people get abducted, especially when you hear the stories, they describe some of the same rituals. They'll talk about paralysis, bright lights. And then, of course, you think about the hybrid programs that we read about in some of the tablets, I think some of the Sumerian stuff. Are these alien abductions, modern interactions with the same ancient gods, but just with a different mask, you think?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, in Sumer, you have the Anunnaki. In the biblical text, you have the Anak. The Dogon talk about the Nomo. The Aboriginals talk about the Wangina. In Mesoamerica and the Aztecs and the Mayans, they talk about Quetzalcoatl, Lord Pakal, Kukulkan. The Hopi talk about the Kachinas. The Zulu talk about the Mutwa and the Chitwari. So we're talking about these. I mean, I could just keep going. Every single culture, they have these beings, and they're all saying the same thing, that these people did not originate here, but that they came here, and in some way, shape, or form, they engaged mankind. So yeah, they're all saying the same thing.
Yeah, that's pretty deep. And for those of you who just joined us, make sure you guys stay here to the end. We have I have a huge announcement, and he's just going to, authenticate it, because I saw it today and I was just blown away. You guys got to hear this. So we would do this probably at the end, and it's a 2-part series. So we're going to go into another section of this tonight. And so you guys don't want to miss that. But this big announcement is huge. And then there's a few of you, you're going to be looking around talking about, I knew. That's why I did it early. So for those of you, it's still early though. So we're going to talk about it. Make sure y'all stick around for that. Now, one of the things that I thought about, and here's some of the things that that really still complex me a little bit. We're taught to believe that the ancient humans were primitive, right? But yet they built these star-line pyramids, or performed brain surgery, or mapped out the stars that we can either see today. But was this knowledge given freely by the gods, or was it a trade-off, or was there a cost?
That's a great question, man. Actually, it's the first time I've ever heard this question. I personally believe that these beings, they pass down the knowledge to mankind for the purpose of advancing the civilization so that they can rule over it in a much more comfortable way. They also wanted to build these ancient megalithic structures, and they themselves were not going to do the labor. They wanted the star alignments. They wanted the energetic centers. They wanted to harness energy and frequencies and cymatics. They wanted to create temples and pyramids that can double as power generators and communication devices and everything else, so they can continue to live their high-tech life using stone technology. But at the same time, if you look at today's modern civilization, modern society, in terms of developing and construction, you have a master architect, right? That master architect got the cleanest fingernails you ever gonna see. He ain't got no dirt under his fingernails. He's gonna give that blueprint over to an engineer and a foreman. All right. Now, the foreman's going to go out and recruit the guys. He's going to get the actual workers, the worker bees that are going to follow the game plan. All right. And so That's what's going to happen. So the workers come in, they do the hardcore back-breaking labor, but they're taught exactly what to do, and they work in sections, and they build in sections utilizing what? Technology.
Yeah.
So if we're doing that today to build these high rises and structures and homes and everything else, take that same blueprint. It fits for no matter where you go in time. That same blueprint applies to the ancient past. You're going to have Thoth, the Atlantean priest king who ruled over Kemet, according to the Egyptians, for 16,000 years. You'll have him as a master architect, and we know this because he said in the Emerald Tablets, build it out of the Great Pyramid.
Yeah.
And he also built the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan. Both have the same size base. They're both built over aquifers. Both sites are aligned with Orion, and the height of the Teotihuacan pyramid, the Pyramid of the Sun, is exactly 50% the height of the Great Pyramid at Giza. This is no coincidence. This is,
right.
This is an engineer. He says this is a blueprint architect. He gives this information over to an engineer and a foreman, so to speak. This is the crew that he talks about that comes off the ship with him to help him rebuild the land of Kemet before it was called Egypt. And they begin the process of teaching people the construction techniques. How do you use this machine? This is how you use this anti-gravity machine. This is how you use this reverse polarity machine. This is going to reverse the spin rate on the atoms and give a lifting force. This is how you use this machine that works on electromagnetic gravity and electromagnetic frequencies and so forth. This is how you use cymatics. So this is all being taught to humans for the purpose of the construction. These are the alignments. This is how it works. So people were educated on this for the purpose of fulfilling the wishes and dreams and the goals and the construction techniques of the Anunnaki themselves. And that's my personal opinion.
Well, you know what? It's good enough for me. Damn sure good enough for me. But listen, here's something that it's a two-part. Now, I really got a little emotional about this week, and a lot of people have heard about it, but let me lead into it. Some people say schizophrenia. Some people say possessions or the voices, that we hear in our head, or medical issues. Now, but what if those same remnants are ancient God communication? And the reason why I want to say this, not just just diagnose something or they messed it up, but here, before I ask the question, Texas had a flood here, this past week, right? July 5th or whatever. And a lot of people lost their lives. Mm-hmm. And the families were searching for answers. I mean, everybody, they was trying to find the people that was missing. And where I'm going to tie this in, I was watching the governor and the senator's press conference, and they got up there. One of the main people over search and rescue that is making sure that everybody's members and families is found. He starts saying that, we're getting a bunch of calls, and then he made the statement. I would have played the clip. He said, we're also getting calls from people who said that people who have medical issues or something. He was like, they're need therapy. He said this. He said, because they're calling saying they're having visions that they know where these people are, and we got to sort through this kind of stuff.
Wow.
And I was like, what? And that goes back here, just like now. Some people say schizophrenia or whatever, but could we be medicating the divine out of people? Because if I was a parent and I've been watching Forbidden Knowledge, your teaching, and the truth versus authority, conspiracy stuff I talk about, I would have been livid if he said, we're going to rule out that people with psychic abilities are calling us. And he said they got medical issues. He used another term. I'm like, what? Wow. What do you think about that? Versus, from the gods,
We need anything. We need all the help we can get, definitely in a tragic situation like that, man. Shout out to the people and the families and the loved ones in those tragic situations. With several major cities, North Carolina, Texas, a few other places got hit pretty bad. I think it's weather modification. Even Florida went wild for a few days. But back to your question, it could be a combination of things. So I believe that these beings, they're responsible for the Black Knight satellite, for one, that you were in that documentary with me, an award-winning documentary. And that device up there that's orbiting Earth right now, still to this day, is giving off a frequency that has been decoded several times by several different people over many, many decades. But we know right now today that the American military has satellite technology that can actually transmit sounds into an individual person's mind from space. They can pinpoint you from space and transmit voices into your mind. They also have one on the ground. It's called the active denial system. And the active denial system can transmit an invisible frequency directly to you. Now they have it more sophisticated. It can move through a crowd of people and target one person's ear. And it can make it sound like there's voices in your head. Okay, so that's something else. Now, is this the ancient technology of the gods that we've rediscovered? It's quite possible. Or do they still even have, like I said, multiple different tech working on us at the same time? Could there still be things like the Black Knight and other particular space probes out there, or even things maybe even on Earth that are still broadcasting a weak signal, but that some people sensitive to them can pick up on them? And then the third thing would be, people, in my opinion, naturally have psychic abilities. Psychic abilities used to be a natural thing, just like touch, hearing, smell, touch, feel, taste. But because of the genetic modification by these beings on the human race, they disconnected a lot of our nodes, which allowed us to tap into some of our higher gifts. And so now other certain people that are born, they're still born kind of reconnected to those gifts or sensitive to those gifts. So they are able to tap into some of them, like psychic abilities. Psychic abilities have actually been proven real in a laboratory setting. And mind links, which is quantum entanglement, psychic ability is really quantum entanglement. What they discovered is that your thoughts and your synapses can actually quantum entangle with other fields of energy within the known universe, and distance doesn't even matter. And if you can discern that entanglement, you can actually then understand exactly what or perceive what it might be. In this particular case, finding the people who were swept away by the flood. The Matrix Intelligence Agency, which is run by Major Ed Dames, the former head of the CIA program for remote viewing, who I trained with in Orlando, Florida, about 8-9 years ago, 2 years in a row, 16 hours. What he does for fun, this is just his thing to do to give back. Him and his team, they work with the FBI and they find missing people and missing children through using remote viewing. Another version of psychic abilities, which is really targeted extraction of data and intelligence to give back to a source so they can locate the people or whatever other intel that they're looking for. So I believe that we have a few things at play. Some of the ancient gods, technology laying around, still giving off frequencies, our own technology that's been rediscovered, and of course, then people's natural abilities.
Man, and one of my members or our community, Kiana, she was saying, she mentioned, they said mental health issues is what they said. You just pointed out something that I was furious about, because the CIA used psychics. They use people to look for crash planes, all of this. And you would think they would have called those people and said, hey, you may want to listen to some of these people you say got mental health issues, or at least try if they're telling you where somebody is. You get what I'm saying? And I just thought that was really profound. I'm going to play a clip of Jordan Maxwell and something that he said, and I want to get your opinion on this. Hang on one second here.
Harmony. I think we're being set up for something very serious and very big by some very powerful secret societies that very well could have extraterrestrial or otherworld intelligence guiding it. All over the world, we have accepted the authority as truth rather than truth as the authority.
All right. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, man. I love Jordan Maxwell. Rest in peace, Jordan Maxwell. I had a dinner with him right before he died, right before he passed away.
Oh man, I got even. I mean, I didn't have dinner with him, but I contacted his family and talked to him, told him how much I, really liked his work, and they ended up. I gave him little contributions to his little thing, or not little thing, but his memorial, whatever they was doing, and they actually gave me a copy of all of his research files.
Wow,
everything. Nice. It's like 5,000 files. They gave me everything that he studied, videos, every video he's done. And and I've been just trying to figure out a way to kind of just use it, but the dude was deep, man, really deep.
He was tapped in, man. He was definitely tapped in, and he's right. Non-human intelligences are influencing governments. Non-human intelligences are influencing the GDP of countries. Non-human intelligences are influencing the movement and the propagation of AI and AGI with no abandon. I mean, no parameters, just unleashing it on mankind. which is going to create, like I talked about, the post-labor economy is headed our way. So he was right on point, man. He was right on point from the very beginning. He was way, way, way ahead of his time.
Yeah, and I don't think he got a lot of not influence, but financial help from that, because they was trying to shut him down. I mean, all over. But a lot of people that he trained, from Springmeyer and David, I think a lot of them all was tied into him. But anyway, yeah. So that, because you hit it when you said the CIA, and I was like, yeah, because why wouldn't they have called those people and do that? But that's just another story, not something to put out there. But I will say this, though. When I start looking in the history of the gods that we're talking about, or the hero return, but in every religion, there seem to be, even though we know the greatest story ever told is in every religion, 26 of them, Jesus' story.
Yeah.
But also the same thing that runs concurrent with is that every alien beings, extraterrestrial gods, ancient civilization, they all either they felt that we were just a bunch of dummies, but they all felt that we need to say we're your God. Why is that? The image of God is there, it's them, no matter who it was, whatever it was. Build a statue, build this. We are your gods.
Mm-hmm. Well, the greatest slave is a slave that does not know that it's a slave. That's why. So when you can get, when a more advanced civilization meets a less advanced civilization, the less advanced civilization will deify the people that have engaged them. And no matter where you look through time, you'll find that what's really happening in most cases is a more advanced civilization, whether it be spiritually advanced or technologically advanced or a combination of both. When they engage a lesser advanced civilization, they automatically drop and grovel to, at the feet and hope and beg and wish and everything else. And what we're looking at technically is we're looking at cargo cults. Humanity is one gigantic hodgepodge of cargo cults. And all these cargo cults, and for those of you who don't know what a cargo cult is, back when they were developing the atomic bombs, they decided to go to the South Pacific to a group of islands called the atolls. When they got there, they ran into tribes that lived on those remote islands that had never seen anybody ever since they lived there. For the first time they saw other humans, they saw the American military with USA on their chest, inside their outfit, obviously. They saw boats and trains and boats and planes and airplanes, and they saw the cargo that they were taking out of these planes and these boats and bringing it onto the island, and people opening up cans, and inside the can had meat, and it was just, they saw the guns, the weapons, the whole thing. So they ended up becoming a cargo cult and worshiping the Americans. They tattooed USA on their chests. They created guns that looked like M16s out of reeds and sticks. They built an airplane to mimic the airplane that they landed out there in the water with pontoons. They even made a fake runway, and they would stare up at the sky for hours waiting for the sky gods to return with more cans of Spam. Okay. Right. So that's one small example of what has happened to mankind. When these people show up, anywhere that they show up, anywhere in the world, you read the text, they're automatically deified. When Thoth showed up in ancient Kemet, which is now Egypt, and he came out of his ship, and the people came to attack him, and he raised his staff and sent out a ray of vibration, which froze them in their tracks. And then he went to them and he unloosened them, or he freed them from this frequency weapon, this non-lethal weapon that he had. And he showed him his magic science that translates into advanced technology. Look, I got a watch, I got I got a cell phone, I'm just hypothesizing here, but he showed him some things. And when the people saw these things, they dropped down and started groveling at his feet. And so this is what happens. We automatically assume these are our creators, or this is our creator. Look what happened when Christopher Columbus came ashore, when he accidentally got lost and ran into some islands in the Caribbean. These people thought this was a God coming back, So yeah, it's a problem that we have deep in our psyche, where we're always looking for this thing on the outside that's coming to enlighten us and save us and everything else. But in this case, they knew this. They knew that trait was in us, and they actually they took advantage of it.
Wow, it is amazing to when you look at that and you just understand the transformation, and it leads me into a couple of 3 or more questions that I have, or just some thoughts that I have. And for those of you, like I said before, in a few minutes, in about 10, 15 minutes, we're gonna make an announcement. I need to make it. I really do. And there's 1,200 people in here, and I think every last one of you want to stay for what I'm about to say here. And just congratulate this guy here, man. And but anyway, so and then y'all gonna congratulate him in the chat too. But those of you are going to be congratulated too, because you're gonna be like, "What? I knew it." Yeah, right. Because you're gonna go home and tell your wife tonight, "Baby, you remember what I did? You told me, yeah. Well, now and then." Love life is going to change for you, all of it. So just make sure you stick around, because we got a remedy for all of that for you in about 15 minutes here. But before we get to that, I want to kind of lead into this. I always wondered, why do religions, Billy, tell us fear God, right? And why fear the creator, or unless the creator isn't who we think? And is it possible that religion was created not to connect us to the gods, but to keep us submissive from them? Because you said all the time, being the mind slaves.
Oh, yeah.
But is it really the plan? Not just what they did, but all religions. Because, you got this one, that one, this one, that one. Were they all using a playbook?
Oh, yeah. They're using a playbook. The goal is to keep you disconnected from understanding the divine nature that you already have. Disconnected from understanding that you are already divine. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. You are already eternal. You've been here since the beginning of time itself. And even before time immemorial, you've already been here in a spiritual form. Your higher self is tethered to this soul self, this self that's inside, inhabiting this avatar body. And for you to have this level of knowledge and wisdom, understanding that you are a fractal of the God itself, the same creator of the universe, that would give you too much power. And with that level of power, they can't manipulate, dominate, and control you. Imagine if everyone were to come up with the realization that the same divine spark that created everything in the known multiverse inhabits every single atom inside their body. If they knew that, if they knew it wholeheartedly, the world would shift overnight. And so they have to keep you disconnected from your spirit. So religion is designed to keep you disconnected. Spirituality is designed to keep you connected. The two are totally different. There's an analogy or a meme that's been famous online for many, many years, where you can see a fish inside of a fish bowl, and it's labeled religion, and the fish bowl is submerged in the ocean, but the fish is in the bowl. Right, and then you have a fish on the outside swimming around the bowl in the whole ocean. That's spirituality. And if people can just come to the understanding that being spiritual versus being religious doesn't take away from your belief in God, it doesn't take away from your belief in even some of the stories and some of the text. It just gives you a much broader understanding. When you begin to understand and research what is talked about as being God in all different cultures, God is omnipotent and omniscient. He's everywhere all the time and knows everything at all times. Now, that phrase that I just said contradicts itself within a lot of religious texts, because all of a sudden, God doesn't seem to know certain things. He's actually kind of surprised by quite a few things in the Bible because he just didn't know they happened. But he's supposed to be omnipotent and omniscient. Now, how can you be those two things? Well, there's a way to be that for real in the real universe, and that's by inhabiting everything. That's by being a part of everything. So I give you an analogy. The human brain is encased in darkness. You probably heard me say this before. The human brain is encased in darkness. The human brain doesn't know what's going on out here, but it has friends. Sight, hearing, taste, touch, smell, feel, and all that, right? It has the senses. It says to its friends, hey, go out there and collect me some data so I can figure out what's going on. So the friends go out, they touch, they smell, they hear, they taste, they see, right? They don't know themselves what they're collecting totally. They have a general idea, but they don't really fully understand the process. But they collect the data and transmit it back via electrical impulses back to the brain. The brain takes the data, the raw data, and sorts it all out and projects a hologram. And we navigate through this hologram based on a projection that's based on data collected from our sensory perception system. Now that's on the micro. Let's go to the macro, as above, so below, like Thoth said in the Hermetic principles.
Hey, I'm wearing my shirt. As above, so below.
There you go. As above, so below. You're on point. So at the highest level, the universe itself, God, right, is trying to learn what is it like to inhabit this third dimension, because God is multidimensional. So God has its friends. That's me, you, and everyone else that exists, and every other sentient being, every animal, a blade of grass, even a rock. And so what God does, God inhabits everything. Even the atoms inside this microphone are inhabited by God. So the microphone itself is divine. And that's how you can be in all places at once, because everything that exists is vibrating, and everything that exists is transmitting information back to the source, into this Akashic field. So the source, which is God, is taking all this data and experiencing the third dimension subjectively through everything that exists here. And what you see when you're looking at things, you're looking at conscious thoughts. This microphone was a thought in somebody's mind, and that then multidimensional concept was collapsed into a microphone through engineering and production. But it's actually a thought. The screen that everyone is looking at to watch us on this podcast, that was a thought in somebody's mind, until that person collapsed it into a blueprint, which then went to an engineer and went into production. And now we have a device like a cell phone. But the cell phone isn't really a cell phone. It's a conscious thought manifesting to the third dimension. So the same power that God has to create, we've been imbued with the same power to create. If we didn't have the power, there would be nothing here.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And I think people just don't really put into how powerful we are, you know, the mind and everything you see, no matter what it was, somebody created this. And I've always said that maybe we are in the mind of God and everything else. I want to bring this conversation into current affairs real quickly. When we look at world power, let's talk about, you know, military, financial, or religious. It all traces back to symbols, and those symbols trace back to the gods. And my question is, are these just institutions of power, or could they be the templates that we still are serving these beings? You get what I'm saying? Especially when you look at what's happening today.
Mm-hmm. Again, the same old saying I said before, the best slave is the one who doesn't know he's a slave. So we've taken allegiance now. Now we pledge allegiance to flags. Well, they had the flags back in the day. They had the eagle back in the day, right? And that was all part of their initiation into their systems. And we had to become a part of those systems. And that was their brand. In other words, just like you brand a cow. So if your cow walks away, oh, that's Farmer Jim's cow. We can see the brand on him. And so they had these systems where each one of these beings ruling in different parts of the world had their own brand. And their brand would be, you know, whether it was the eagle, whatever it was. So now all of a sudden they've got us pledging allegiance to flags, which is just a piece of material hanging on the edge of a stick, right? And I remember I got in trouble in junior high school, because when I was in school, there wasn't a middle school, it was junior high. And in junior high school, I got in trouble in class, and they sent me to the office and said I was trying to incite a riot in class just because I wouldn't do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I tried to explain what the Pledge of Allegiance was all about back then, but the teacher wasn't having it. So I've been at this for a long time, man. And I'm not giving my allegiance to a piece of material. I pledge my allegiance to humanity, wherever they may be in the entire multiverse. That's my Pledge of Allegiance. But see, it's a different way of thinking and seeing things. When you're pledging allegiance to these flags and to these groups and these countries, and you're seeing these insignias that we're utilizing for financial instruments, you know, these images of the eagle and stars and everything else. All these things are symbolizing the fact that we are now still in the financial matrix. We're still in their political matrix. We're still in their education matrix. We're still in their slave matrix. There's many matrices. And so they've initiated us at every level to keep us completely blind, enclosed, and enslaved. And we're so enclosed in matrices, we can't even see that we're in one. We're fully immersed in many layers of matrix. And this is their goal and their plan. Also, they have us emerged in here, and they've embedded a program code called Divide and Conquer. And that divide and conquer tactic goes back eons. We'll get this group fighting against that group. We'll get this race fighting against that race. We'll get this political group fighting against this political group. We'll get the people hating one another. We'll even get them hating each other in their own families. They'll fight each other to the death in their own families for us. And that keeps us scrambling around like rats in a maze while they chop the pie up and they all laugh at us, you see? But we can't see past this thing because they've got us in these matrices and they've got us the blinders on and they've got us hating one another.
Yeah, I always use my trademark phrase, and I tell people, your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. And it don't really matter what you see. But if they can control the mind and everything else, it is probably the way that a lot of people just can't get it. They just, because they don't listen to the mind, the internal mind. I got another question before we get into this life-changing information. And then, of course, we do have more after that, but it'll be a part 2. We'll do this on my channel in a few minutes as well. However, let me ask you straightforward. If someone, and we think about today of the returning of the gods, if someone had the powers of ancient gods, right? Flying, manipulating matter, or controlling minds, would we honor them today, or would we lock them up, judging the way society is? You know what I mean?
Well, there'll be 2 groups. There'll be one group, well, there'll be 3 groups actually today. So there'll be one group that's going to, as soon as these people show up, they're going to drop to their knees and grovel. They're going to be, the God's back. These are his angels. They're here to whisk us away into this magical rapture, which doesn't even exist, and all this kind of stuff. And so they're gonna go into heavy weeping religious mode. And then you have the second group, which is going to be the military, and they're going to look to try to attack. They want to attack. They want to kill. They want to maim. They want to steal the technologies of the gods so they can reproduce it and weaponize that as well, and then even monetize it by making them into consumer goods. And then you have another group of people like us who are just ready for these people to show up and talk to us and let us know what the hell's going on and what happened. So you have 3 groups: a group that's going to be sane like us, completely sane and ready and willing to communicate, the weaponized military industrial complex, and then you'll have the religious zealots.
Well, make sure when they come to the house and go up that elevator that you got, that I'm there with them, right? And we just got to talk. All right, so here's the deal. As y'all should know, I mean, I've been telling you all to hang around because I want to share something with you, a couple of things, but one in particular I think is just really, but before we do that, how many of you in here live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area? If you live in Dallas-Fort Worth area, put in the chat real quickly, just say Dallas, or whatever, because I have a little clip I want to show you what we're going to be doing this Saturday, just kind of hooking up. But Billy, I'm going to do 2 things here right after this little clip. I want you to take us back to the humble beginnings of forbidden knowledge, because when I make this announcement and they can understand the road to where it's going and then understand the vision of the pinnacle of things, I just want to put it together. I think a lot of people know the story as of now. They know what's happening now, but I don't think they're going to understand the roads to where to get now and where we're going. And if I don't have you to paint the past picture with the present and then the future, fair enough?
Gotcha. Oh yeah, definitely. Let's do it, man.
So
absolutely.
We got a few people that's in Dallas, so I'm gonna play a little clip that I'm doing, a little something this weekend, and then we're gonna let you bridge the gap here.
This is not your average Saturday. The truth seekers are meeting for the first time ever. Join us Saturday, July 19th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. right here at Keys Park in Dallas, Texas. Come meet the community that refuses to be silent, where nothing is off limits. Historic conspiracy, modern cover-ups, hidden truths you won't hear on the news. Bring your kids, let them enjoy the playground. Bring a chair, sit under the shade, and let's share what they don't want us talking about. Your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. Bring your truth, bring your curiosity, bring your favorite snack. This is Truth versus Authority Live, and this time, you're not watching, you're part of it.
All right. So if you're in Dallas, make sure y'all show up this Saturday, 10 to 2. We're just going to hang out, bring a chair because there's not a lot of seating, but under the trees there is. We're going to talk conspiracy. Billy, I got some of that. I'm going to show some people that's going to blow them away. You and I'll talk about it later. It's all in the news. The Attorney General, what's the word? The FBI, all of those people, they're all complaining about what we haven't seen. I'm going to show our organization this weekend because I got it. Nice. I'm not going to even say the name, but they should figure it out what I'm talking about. But I have it, and we're going to go over those names and laugh at some of the people that been there. All right, so let's do this. We're talking about the future of forbidden knowledge and also the mindset of all those people who believed in the vision. So I'm going to give some validation for them tonight as well, and also for people who have been on the fence or just whatever. But before we get to that part, I'm gonna go past. Then I'm gonna say, okay, let's talk about present, and then we're gonna hit them with what I think is, for you, it's just it's business. For me, it's phenomenal, right? Yeah. And but let's first take us back to the humble beginnings and the trials and tribulation for forbidden knowledge to the present right now.
Yeah. The humble beginnings were, I had been really wanting to put out knowledge and information to the world for quite some time, long before the internet even existed. And I read a book one time about the Hopi prophecy. And this Hopi prophecy talked about the fact that in the future, according to the Hopi prophecy, the world will be connected by a world wide web and information will travel to and fro instantaneously. I never forget that day. And I said to myself out loud, if I can survive to see that day or that time, people are going to hear my voice. And I survived to that time. One day I was sitting in the house and it was actually a small apartment. And on TV came this commercial, IBM.com, all black screen. That's it. 3 letters and a .com. I said, what was that? Nobody runs a commercial like that during an NBA game on a Saturday. It's expensive. What does that mean? It came on again 2 more times. I went to the bookstore. See, this is before computers. I went to the bookstore and I asked the lady at the front desk, I said, what is this IBM.com? Do you know anything about, I know it's a computer company, but what does the .com part mean? She says, oh, there's a book on the internet over there, the World Wide Web. I said, the World Wide what? She said, the World Wide Web. I almost ran over there to that section. When I got there, they had books on C+, ASP, PHP, HTML, books talking about how to use front page 97, which is the year it was and everything. And I was like, wow, this is here. It was the beginning stages, but I knew from that moment on that all I had to do was fall in line, get it on the right frequency with this information, and my voice was going to be heard. And so fast forward a little bit, a few more years, I end up, not even a year, right? Within a few months of that situation, I ended up getting a computer from Rent-A-Center. It was $19.95 a week. It was a Packard Bell. I call it a Packard from hell because it crashed all the time. And I learned how to do all those program codes right at the bookstore, HTML, ASP scripts, PHP, C+. I taught myself all the coding, JavaScripts, and started building websites. I built a company called .com Marketing Group, one of the very first .coms that was into making websites. And I started cold calling from the yellow pages. And that's how I got myself going into the internet business. This is when the internet first started. Fast forward from that journey, ended up getting acquired and sold, made some money there. Started a mobile app company in 2008. Had some very successful mobile apps that made national news. And then from there, fast forward a little bit more, I was getting bored with doing these projects that didn't really fulfill my ultimate goal and wish was to share knowledge. And I finally felt like I was reaching a point where enough information can get out. Where Facebook just popped off, YouTube just showed up, and I'm like, okay, this might be the right time now. There's avenues for me to get my information out. Web forums started becoming popular, so I started getting on a web forum and started dropping knowledge in there. It's forbidden knowledge years and years ago. Eventually, Instagram showed up, and I was like, who's going to want to see knowledge on a place where people are posting pictures of cats and plates of food? I said, I don't know. So I posted one post. It was a Paracas skull. an elongated Paracas skull from Peru. That was my very, very first post on Instagram. And I made a long caption talking about what this skull was and my hypothesis on it. And it went viral for that time, 5 likes.
All right. Right.
I was like, wow, people like this.
Right.
The next thing I posted was an underground military base with a full-size military vessel underground. And that got, 4 or 5 likes. And so I just continue to go from there. And I gave long captions with a lot of detail and information. This is pre-ChatGPT. You had to have the knowledge. And people started loving it. So that was the beginning stages. I still owned a call center. I was a partner in a call center that was doing big numbers. We were doing probably about $150,000 to $200,000 a week gross. But I just wasn't happy. And it came to a point one day where I just said, I just got to walk away from this. And I walked away cold turkey. I wasn't monetized on forbidden knowledge in any way, shape, or form at the time. And that was around 2013. Going into 2014, I just went completely solo and didn't start monetizing until 2017 because I realized there got to be a way that I can eat and do this. If I keep, I guess I'm going to burn through all my savings and I won't have any money left, and this won't work. So it started off with me really just trying to build a foundation, just the foundation of a community that wanted to listen and hear what I had to say. And in 2017, it was just like T-shirts and a few products to just add to what I was talking about so I can kind of keep myself going and pay some bills. And then it just kept growing and growing. It was like a snowball rolling down the hill. And there were some tough days. I remember, packing all the product sales from the website, from the shopping cart in my little apartment on top of the little tiny island and printing the labels and putting the labels on myself and loading up garbage bags full of the products and taking them down to the post office myself. No team, no help, nobody making this and making that or calling this or calling that. Nobody editing clips. None of that existed. It was just me, myself, and I wearing 10 hats. And on some days I would work 17, 18. Some days it was 24 hours. You don't even get a break. And I was working myself to the bone. And I had to still appear on TV shows, podcasts. I was on the Discovery Channel, the History Channel, Travel Channel, Gaia. I mean, all these different shows I started appearing on. All these conferences, I had to speak at the conferences, and I had to go right back as fast as I could to pack and ship more stuff and run the business. So there were weeks where I would literally, I ain't gonna lie to you, sometimes I'd just be weeping a little bit because I was working myself to the bone. And I was like, is there going to be an end in sight to this? Right, I know I wanted to give the knowledge, but damn, I can't even get sleep. I can't even have a life. But I just continued on, man. And eventually I brought my son Justin on to help me out. That alleviated a little bit of pain. And I brought a few more people on here and there and gradually just continued to grow and started to delegate more. And then, of course, it just started taking off exponentially. And I came up with the idea that I wanted to be able to take all this community with me if I could. How can I help them come to the top of the mountain with me, the idea I came up with is, hey, offer shares of the company and try to take this company public. And that would give everyone a ride all the way to the top with me. Everyone who supported and hung in there through the tough times and everything else, be like, hey, we made it together. So that was the idea and the concept.
That was a great concept because I have a couple of little stories to kind of tie into as we now get ready to get to the future of things. 2 stories, personal one for me. And when I was 20 years old, I had a secret clearance. I worked for a contractor for the government, and we were building, missiles and different things and stuff. But there was a lady that worked there, and she was a secretary, but she worked there. But she always said that she used to work for Sam Walden. And she said her and her husband, when times got kind of a little tough, he started offering shares to the company. And she said that the secretary, her husband was like, you ain't going to be working for no shares for this guy, blah, blah, blah. And of course, she ended up leaving. Her best friend stayed there, took the shares. And this was 15, 20 years ago. And right at that moment, her best friend was worth $1 billion, right? Because she, but she was like, I said, well, you still got your husband? She said, I will make him live forever so he can regret making me quit that job. So I thought about that. Another personal story is Bitcoin. We know today it hit hundreds of 20,000. I don't know how much money, but I don't even look at it no more for a reason. And the reason is not because it's a bad deal. It's just my feelings are hurt, like the Walmart story. I was buying Bitcoin when gaming online, you would buy it 10 cents. That was how you get credits to play online games. And then, of course, years later, and I can pull up my phone through Coinbase, probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years or where we was trading this thing back and forth, hundreds of, I probably moved 100 of them. I got the proof. I can just scroll through my phone. You see all these Bitcoin buys and sells. Now, since then, I got out, right? And now look at where it is today. And I think we're going to be at that moment again about what I'm about to share with these people, you know, and sometimes you just got to understand those stories and everything else. But my personal story is when we met for the first time, when I was on Clubhouse, and I had won their Creators First program. And if a lot of you didn't know, I'm in 11 different TV shows, of course, Forbidden Knowledge, Black Knight Satellite, featured on Ancient Aliens. You can find me on Amazon. You can find me on Fox 2B, Discovery Channel, all of those things. But before I got into that, I was just new into the alien stuff, and I was trying to build a organization. And I won what they call the Creators First, so Clubhouse, the app. So they gave us all $1,000 budget, and they was like, go ahead and create a show, and you can, you know, or get a babysitter. It was 20 of us. It was 60 finalists and then 20 finals. So we had to do this show, and all I had was $1,000, and I ended up finding Billy's number. Okay, so I called him up and I told him who I was. This is 3 or 4 years ago, long time ago, like Brandon Mack said, long time ago. So, and if not more, maybe 5. And so I called him up and I told him who I was, and I told him, hey, you know, I'm a brother and I'm having problems because I was the only African-American person on Clubhouse talking about aliens, all these other groups, and they all was going against me because I'm sitting here talking about ancient stuff or just whatever too, you know, or, you know, and I called Billy up and I said, hey, listen, I got an issue and I need somebody to do my, because we all had to do a pilot show. And it was called Ufology. And I was like, I got $1,000, you know, and that's all I have. And he was like, $1,000. And so I'm sitting here going like my Scooby-Doo, like, damn, that ain't enough money. And he goes, I ain't gonna take your money. What are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, well, what are you talking about? He said, I'll do it. And so, of course, he was the headliner in the show. I ended up winning, got the contract from Clubhouse. And, of course, ever since then, I'm part of what we're going to talk about now, the big announcement, the whole thing. Why are you here? You know, part of the Forbidden Knowledge Podcast Network, part of the management company. You know, he's my manager, my business manager, as well as the book publisher. And real quickly, you know, I do have a new book. So let me just put it on the screen. There is a link in the description. It is found on the Forbidden Knowledge website. It's in pre-order right now. Billy has done the forward to this book. He's there. Forbidden Knowledge is the publisher. You can go right now and order it. There's a link in the description. Y'all go ahead and get a copy of this book so we can become a bestseller together as a community, and as well as thank you for not only publishing, but as well as doing the forward. And Doc B, a lot of you have done some comments in the book for me. So now, drum roll. Being part of the Forbidden Knowledge as of today, you know, you made a lot of strides in trying to give people a piece of this action. And there's a lot of people who are listening to us right now who believed in you. They bought early shares of the stock. They've done all of these things. I've done it. Everyone's done it in belief of becoming something special from the podcast network, the management company, the space agency, the list goes on, and silos and bunkers, whatever. It just is there. Okay. But I don't think people are going to be prepared for what I'm about to say now. And what they do know, they've heard of NASDAQ. They know when things hit the NASDAQ and things are going to be important there is a big, a big cloud of joy when it comes to this. So I'm going to put some on the screen for you guys, and I'm going to put 2 images. The first image right now says the NASDAQ. I don't even know how to pronounce that. How you pronounce it? Symbolic or what's that?
Sabanic.
Okay, so Sabanic Inc. and Forbidden Knowledge forward a strategic partnership to accelerate global psychedelic retreats. Okay. This is a post that came out on the NASDAQ today or July 15th, yes, today. And here's the announcement. And it says that Symbolizer Inc., a trailblazing next generation wellness innovation and global lifestyle experience, is proud to announce it has entered a strategic partnership with Forbidden Knowledge Inc., a fast-growing multimedia and conscious educational platform led by bestseller author and conscious media pioneer Billy Carson. This is groundbreaking partnership, positions both the company for accelerated growth and global impact, leveraging their complementary expertise and shared vision. Now, I'm not going to read the rest because I want y'all to go and get and look at the article. So I have put it in the chat or the description of this video. But what I also have done, and I was talking with Billy about it, and I think it is probably the final hour if you get to this, but you have another opportunity to get shares. And those who've already bought it, you should be dancing right now. You can put it in the chat. Let us know you've already got you some. Be happy, and not just be happy. You're a visionary. You're conscious. You are infinite consciousness awareness. I will call it all that, all knowing, has been, and ever can be. Whatever we could say, you are that. But to say the least, I also put a form in the description so that you all could buy or go ahead and just, well, I'm going to use the word buy because we're not talking about buy. For you who believe in your belief system and whatever, you go in there and increase that belief, and then you tell the kids and everyone else. But now that we're in the presence and I made that, tell us now, first, how do you feel about it? And how hard from that humble beginning story they just heard? Because I wanted people to know this is not an overnight thing. This is not you wake up in the morning, open a watermelon, there's seeds in there. You have to grow this thing. You have to have vision, and it's going to be small, and it's going to be days that it's not sweet. But today is about to be really sweet for y'all.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Let's go in this, and you can talk that Jurassic Park language, spare no expense, because you know how you roll. So go ahead and just share with them where we are now and where we're going. Yeah, well, it's a beautiful thing. This is the greatest press release that I've ever been a part of and been mentioned in. So shout out to Symbolizer. Their symbol on the stock exchange is SNNC. SNNC. That's their stock symbol. That stock today was up, the last I checked, many percentage points, which is great because this news is great for everyone. So it's another stock to look at if you invest in stocks. Look at SNNC. Symbolizer is the company. Symbolizer is cannabis backwards, by the way. Okay. This is a publicly traded company on the stock exchange that specializes in health, wealth, wellness retreats, and psychedelic retreats as well. We're going to be partnering with them to do psychedelic retreats and ancient tours as well. So sometimes we'll do an ancient tour, and within the ancient tour, we'll also have a retreat built in, which people want to do anyway. We just came back from Peru a few weeks ago, and some people stayed extra time with my guides so they can go to the shaman and do ayahuasca, under controlled circumstances and everything else, under a good, safe location. And so this is something that people want to experience or want to do. Symbolizer is actually a publicly traded company doing that. Can you imagine where we've gone from just 10 years ago to where there would be no chance for a company like that to be on the stock exchange to now this is being recognized as something vital and incredible for humanity, next level, and to have it on the stock exchange. And so the partnership was just made in heaven, because what happened was a gentleman that was a huge fan of my work ended up becoming an investor in Forbidden Knowledge. He also bought 16 tickets to Egypt for 2025. He bought tickets for his whole family and his whole team. And then he was heavily involved with this company, Symbolizer, and he negotiated a deal between us for them to sponsor the Forbidden Knowledge podcast. So they became our podcast sponsor. And from there, I talked to David Mirsky. He came to meet me in person from Arizona. He came all the way down to
Fort Lauderdale. We did a podcast together, which did very well, very informational. We actually hit it off really well. A lot of great synchronicities. We saw how our companies complement one another and how we can both grow together. And that's really where the conversation started. Even within the podcast, the idea and the concept of doing some type of his company doing an equity stake in Forbidden Knowledge and then maybe doing a spinoff later. He mentions it in the podcast back then, maybe 3 months ago, or whatever it was. And, to get a symbol and go to public. So we just kept conversation going. We kept networking. Come to find out, he also wanted involved in the sponsored podcast, William Henry. William Henry is on Ancient Aliens since for the last 19 seasons. He's also one of the producers of Ancient Aliens. And I love William Henry. I've known him for so many years. I've been in TV shows with him, but I've never been able to directly work with him. Be involved in something, collaborating directly with him. But now we just did our very first collaboration podcast with the CEO of Sabbanic, William Henry from Star Walker Cafe and Forbidden Knowledge, which is all part of the process to organize this. And they just decided to, the CEO decided, yes, this is what we want to do. We want to integrate with Forbidden Knowledge. We want to be a part of it. We like what you built. What you built is amazing. As you built it organically, it's not fake, it's not paid, it's not paid subscribers, paid to over 10 million followers across all platforms, verified, validated, checked, all the analytics checked, the numbers checked, the records, the profit and loss, everything checked. And they said, yes, we'd love an equity stake in Forbidden Knowledge. So that's where we are now. You see in the press release, I can't read outside of the press release because the press release was approved by attorneys. But in there, they talk about not only taking an equity stake in Forbidden Knowledge to align the two companies for long-term success, and under the current plan, Sabbanic will ultimately spin off the acquired assets into a new entity on NASDAQ, marking a major milestone for Forbidden Knowledge's future in the public markets. So that's strong, man. Super strong.
They're real strong. I was trying to find my little cash sign, but I don't have it, to pretty much. And you don't have to cry here, but you know what I'm saying? You don't have to cry on air, and I'm not going to make a sad story and then play the flute, but you ought to be awfully happy about now, or at least knowing where things are happening, because I know there's a lot of sleepless nights and just knowing and having the ground of people that are dependent and also believing in what you do. And sometimes, we don't make all the great moves, and sometimes we have to lose to win and all of that. But I think you've, once you shake it out, whatever they call the shaft of wheat, the old folks would say, whatever. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of, and let y'all know, we're going to finish this conversation about the gods and all that. And I got a lot of more deep questions, but we're going to move over to my channel in a few minutes. But before we do that, if you're in this chat and not only have you bought, and I will say that, or you believe, and we're going to use that, there's three types of people. Just like he said, I'm going to give you my three. Number one, you're a person that's just like, hey, I get it. I believe, I'm in it. I've been around this thing. I've seen the proof in the pudding. We've watched this thing blossom into a fruit tree already. I was here when the roots was here. Put you a number one in that you may want to go and get you some more. You just might want to. You might want to add to your pie, and just put number one in the chat. Even if you're new and you planning to go ahead and there's a link in this description, and you just want to just take a look around. Or you could be a number two. You're like, I'm in it, but I have a little more questions, and I'm sure he'll do a video or another podcast to go in details. Or if you get on the email list, you get some private emails that he sends out to the private group. There was people in here already that heard the news before I told you, because they're in the private areas, right? And you might want to sign up for those lists and everything else. And if you're a number two, just look at all them number ones. You see them? All right. Oh, yeah. So we got the ones. And like I said, you could be a number two. And the two is like, I'm there, but I got more questions, and he'll get those answers for you, but timing is everything. And then if you're number three, like, this is just not for me, we'll give you a shout out too. You can put yourself number three. So either which way, but you got a bunch of ones, you got some twos in there. So the twos tell us we might have to do a follow-up. What do you think?
Yeah. Hey, sounds good. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, they're in there, and the ones are streaming. All right, then. So there is a link in the description. You will see it where it says the form. You go right in there, and you will see where you could go ahead and put your belief system, whatever the value of this announcement is to you, that's what you can do in there. In whether it's 1 or 1,000 or 10,000, either way, one Bitcoin today is worth $120,000. So it was 10 cents when I was looking at it. You get what I'm saying? So just let you know the power of one. And there may be some limits. There may be some limits of where you start at, and I'm not technical to that. You'll find all that information on the website. But Billy, with that being said, I want to invite you. We're going to do a part 2. We're in about 5 minutes. We'll go over to my channel, which is, let me put it on the screen, and I appreciate you agreeing to do this. And because we got a lot more questions in this, and then of course we have an audience there who want to hear this announcement as well. Right here on the screen, you guys, Roderick Martin, Truth versus Authority. I am 270 people away from 25,000 subscribers. So at least 300 of y'all come over and subscribe tonight. We'll go and rejoice at that. But anyway, that's the channel. And you just type in YouTube or whatever. There is a link in the description of this live video that'll take you over there automatically. We'll head over there. And then we're going to finish, because I got like 10 more things we're going to talk about on this part 2 is what we're calling it, and definitely we're going to get into, do we believe these gods are returning? Because we didn't answer that all the way, but we're going to answer that on the next one here in about 5 minutes. And I got a lot of more things about the Nephilim I'm going to ask him about, other rituals and everything. You do not want to miss, even about CERN. I'm going to ask him about CERN that ties into this as well. You guys don't want to miss it. So I hope to see y'all over there. Hop over there in a few minutes. I'm going to give him a 5 minutes, or I'll ask him, does he need 5 minutes? I give, but just hop on over, and then we're going to go live on my channel and hope to see y'all complete this conversation. But anyway, man, congratulations to you. The ones are just streaming across here. And so I just know that there are some happy people, but I'm sure they're going to, really stack on their pie tonight. So what do you think?
Hey, man, listen, I'm happy. I'm pleased. I'm blessed. Everyone on this live is blessed, man. I just appreciate everything that I've been given. I hope I have the highest level of gratitude through all the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs, divorce, getting pneumonia and almost dying. I mean, you name it, whatever it's been through all the years, abject poverty, it's all worth it, man. It's all worth it because, I just feel like I've had some downs, but I feel like my ups have been 10,000 times better. And I feel like I've lived the life of 10 men already, and there's just so much more to go. I'm just really excited for everything that's coming in the future. And I really feel that a lot of the struggle and the strife and everything that I've been going through for all these decades is finally going to pay off.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you this. Jeff Bezos went through a divorce, and his wife is still multi-billionaire. So, like Chris Rock said, we're not going to argue with 35 grand, but hey, the OJ Simpson stuff. But today, we're looking big time. Everybody's winning, and sometimes stuff happens, but at the end of the day, we all win, Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So I'll see you in about 5 minutes over on my channel, and y'all hop on over. Roderick Martin, Truth versus Authority. We're going to go through part 2, and you're going to hear some more amazing stuff about, and the book Enoch. I'm going to talk about that too. All right. So appreciate it, brother.
All right. Peace.
Why did Ruby shoot Oswald? Was there a conspiracy?
In a world shrouded in darkness and obscured by deception from the big secret keepers, a burning question ignites in the hearts and minds of truth seekers. Why? Let's dive into the abyss of the unknown. Challenge the limits of our understanding.
This bizarre sequence of double killings raised great questions. Who actually fired the shot that killed Kennedy?
Pierce the veil of secrecy.
Cattle found dead and the manner of their deaths are a real mystery.
Anyone who is concerned about lead in the drinking water in Flint.
And venture into the realm of conspiracies and extraterrestrial evidence.
A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way.
Let must consider the question, why the big secret?